Hey, RetconRaider here. Today's video is dedicated to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, with special thanks to Revenant, Anerdinwarpaint, Antonio Hernandez, Icestormshadow, Matthew Holmquist, Michael Konz, Nathan Welch Jr., and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, let's get started. And welcome back to the Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous beta, as we hopefully conclude our tour of the Defender's Heart and finish speaking with the last of the noteworthy Crusaders. I know we've been talking for a while now, but I do find all of this stuff fascinating, and obviously a lot of it is going to be relevant in the long run. Still, it will be nice to finally get back to some proper adventuring. 3 more names on the list. Let's get through this. Go on. Don't take too long, though. Okay. The young tiefling sits cross-legged on the floor. He looks relatively calm for someone in shackles, but his tail whips back and forth in agitation. Noticing your attention, the tiefling sits up and beckons you over. Hey, Chief! Hey, Dreamboat! Come over here! I want to talk to you about something. Something really important. Quit bothering the decent people in here, Woljif, or I'll knock your teeth out. What's it to you, Delvin Dum-Dum? You were told to guard me, and I'm not stopping you. But no one told me I had to shut my trap. And, who are you? Woljif Jefto. I deal in useful things. I can get you whatever you want, anything. But there's just one problem. The tiefling rattles his chains and gives you a meaningful look. What exactly do you want from me? I'll lay it out for you. Simple job, 30 minutes tops. We go someplace, talk to someone, and in return, whatever you want. I'll get it for you. Some extra rations, no problem. Armor, weapons, scrolls, you name it. It's as good as yours. If you need my help with something, whistle and I'll be there. I'm handy enough with knives, too. And even my magic know-how ain't too shabby. Aha, what a load of guff. If you were good at magic, you wouldn't be stuck here, now would you? Don't listen to him, Chief. He'd find fault with the Queen herself. I'll be useful to have in battle, and I'll sell you whatever you want at a reasonable price. It's your lucky day. You won't meet another gem like me in Canabras. Why exactly are you in chains? Does it really matter? Don't get hung up on the past, Chief. Don't look to the future. Live in the here and now. He was caught thieving. Yeah, that sounds about right. Your shadow, what was that? The tiefling grins and laughs. Get me out of here and I'll tell you. And don't worry, it's not contagious. I can't help you while you're chained up here. How can I free you? Oh, that's easy. You know Irabeth, feisty-looking gal, always wears armor? You can't miss her. She's the meanest fighter in the whole city. When you see her, put in a good word for me, will ya? Tell her there's this guy, Woljif, locked up for no good reason in the Defender's Heart. Well, for the follies of his youth. And he really wants to get out on bail so he can keep up his good behavior and make a contribution to society. Got that? Will you do it? All right, I'll talk to Irabeth about your situation. Woljif grins. I knew I could count on you. Knew it the moment I laid eyes on you. Yeah, we'll talk later. All right, let's go have a chat with Irabeth. I mean, we're right here. Might as well do it now. There's this tiefling chained up in the Defender's Heart. What can you tell me about him? Erebeth shrugs scornfully. Woljif is a petty thief from a gang of thieflings operating in Canabras. That's what we call them in these parts. They tried to rob a vendor of magical items recently. Unfortunately, we apprehended only one of them, and the rest managed to escape. We have nowhere else to keep him apart from the Defender's Heart, but that's hardly a prison. Woljif knows it too. He's been begging us for days to let him go free, or have someone vouch for him. He's already asked you to put in a good word for him, hasn't he? Erebeth squints at you thoughtfully, then shrugs. If you want to recruit Woljif and put him to good use, go ahead and take him off our guards' hands. We can ill afford to let a soldier spend their days watching over a middling thief. I hope the tiefling proves useful, should you decide to take him along. Well, that was easy. Alright, let's go let Woljif know the good news, I guess. Woljif is sitting in the same place, with his tail impatiently batting the floor. Well, Chief, what do you got for me? I talked to Erebeth, and I've decided to make you part of my troop. We'll see how it goes. Woljif leaps to his feet and gleefully rubs his hands. Ha! You must be a smooth talker. Come on, Delvin, get these bracelets of yours off me. I'm going free. You're sure to regret this. This tiefling will fleece you for everything you've got. Mark my words. You're a bitter little man, Delvin. Petty and mean. You can't even be happy for me, can you? I pity you. I'll leave you alone with your sad little soul. So long. Woljif is freed from his shackles and rubs his chafed wrists. And now, Chief, straight down to business. He glances around, making sure that no one is listening in. You see, I'm one of those guys that people around here call thieflings. We just call ourselves the family. After we knocked over that shop and I got stuck out here in the Defender's Heart, a little bird told me that Big Sister Charisme wanted to see me, that she had some questions to ask me. You following? Now, she won't be asking me questions like, Woljif, how'd you manage to get out of this one? Or, Woljif, you're so thin, didn't they feed you? No, something serious has gone down, and I just know they want to try to pin something on me. I can feel it in my tail. So I knew right away that I couldn't go alone. You turned up just in time, Chief. You don't need to do anything when we get there. Just stand behind me and look mean, and I'll handle the rest. Somehow. Let's go, I'll show you the way. Delvin, taking his sweet time there. Okay, so that clears up one side quest, but gives us another one. I believe that also unlocks Woljif as a companion. Yep. Woljif. Chaotic Neutral Eldritch Scoundrel. 20 dex, 18 intelligence. Not bad. A decent spread of skills. I think Camellia might actually be better at trickery than he is. Probably because she has skill focus and he's spread a bit thinner. No arcane knowledge, though. That's a shame. We really could have used a proper arcanist. A nice basic spread of spells. We'll have to fine-tune that a bit, but we'll do that later. Oh, yeah. And because he is a proper Eldritch Scoundrel, he can't wear armor. And they went with two-weapon fighting. That's an interesting choice. I feel like it would have been a bit simpler to just slap a crossbow on him. Woljif gives you a friendly wave. Hey, Chief. Want to talk? I want to know more about you. How much is more? Are your family tieflings too? My family? It's an interesting story, actually, but I don't tell it to just anyone. My father and mother had a bakery. Their life was great, but the gods never blessed them with any children. One day, my mother went to the river to wash some clothes and saw a basket floating downstream. Inside the basket was a baby, adorable and chubby and fast asleep. It was yours truly. In my hand was a note spritzed with expensive perfume that said, "Take care of my little angel." My mother brought me home, and she and my father realized right away that I was heaven sent. They raised me as their own. When I turned 15, my mother showed me my baby blanket. It was embroidered with the coat of arms of an unknown kingdom, all in gold thread. Ever since then, I've been looking for my real parents. But it's not easy. Traveling takes money. So, if you have a few gold coins, I'll pay you back as soon as I find my real family. I give you my word. What's my intelligence? More than 3? Okay. You want to run that by me again? Seriously? Usually everyone just believes everything I say. People love stories like that, you know? A cute baby, a basket, a blanket. What's not to love? They look at me differently, as if I'm worth more just because the sheets I spit up on might have had a fancy coat of arms on them. Woljif laughs bitterly. If I was really a prince, I wouldn't be sitting around here, I can tell you that much. I'd have already gone to take what was rightfully mine. And then I'd come back with an army so I could watch the guards and merchants who pushed me around all my life bow and scrape before me. But that's not gonna happen. Want to hear the real story? The true story is boring. My family is human, both my father and my mother. They used to live in a village nearby, I forget the name. When my ma had me, my old man got so mad he almost killed her, pinned her to the wall and started asking questions, like why his son had horns and a tail. Well, my ma told him that her mother, my grandma, used to fool around with a demon. When he heard this, Daddy Dearest got drunk, trashed the house, and then took off. I don't remember any of this, of course. My grandma told me. I was about 3 years old when my mother brought me to Canabris and left me with my grandma. She said to her, "You and your demon have ruined my life. Now you handle him." Then she left. I haven't seen her or my dad since. She did leave a blanket, though. That part was true. But my grandma burned it because it was infested with lice. Wasn't even good enough to use as a rag. You think after all that, my grandmother saw the light, felt rightly ashamed, and kissed my horns? I wish. Woljif grins nastily, his yellow eyes flashing. People used to give her trouble for fooling around with a demon. She wasn't welcome anywhere, so she got angry. Normal kids get bedtime stories, see? But the only tales I got told were how my dad was worthless, my ma was a slut, and I was demon spawn that no one cared about. She only kept me so I could help around the house and steal things she needed. So that's the truth. And how did you become a thiefling? Woljif grins happily. I was already a tiefling, and life made me a thief. I've been in this business since I was a kid. My grandma used to say, "If you don't work, you don't eat." And she gave me as an apprentice to Yeager, a tiefling neighbor of ours. He was a cunning old geezer. He knew how to take a purse off somebody's belt, how to cut open bags undetected, even do some magic. I used to climb through basement windows and open doors from the inside while I was still small enough. And when I grew up and stopped fitting through windows, I decided I was done with my education. I repaid my grandma for everything she'd done for me, which was absolutely nothing. Why would I feed her if she wasn't bringing me any money? If you don't work, you don't eat. So I took off. I got bored of my teacher, too. But when I as much as hinted at leaving, he said I owed him for my education. So I just nodded, and then I joined the Owlbears, the gang that ran our district, and told them that Yeager was working their territory. I don't know what happened to him, but I stayed with the Owlbears. Then their leader started giving me the cold shoulder. I did steal from him, but never that much. So I had to rat them out to the guards. Then I joined the Golden Hands. That was a good time. Rich pickings. I am starting to notice a bit of a pattern here. I would have stayed with the Golden Hands, but the Northmen promised me a bigger cut if I told them where the Golden Hands kept their loot. I'm no fool, of course, so I told them. After that, I only had one option, to join the Northmen. And then the family came. At first, no one took them seriously, calling them thieflings and all that. But I felt it right away. They had power behind them, and they had more money. I'm always on the winner's side, Chief. That's why I joined the thieflings. And right on time, some thugs came from the capital and made the Northmen leave. The ones who survived are in the family now, too. Tell me about these thieflings. Alright, I won't tell you everything, mind, but I can tell you a little. The thieflings are Mendevian thieves. The gang was started in Mendev's capital by someone or another, and soon after that they'd spread all over Galarion. They're also called the Family. You know why? Because us tieflings are easy to spot. Wherever we go, guards always hassle us asking, "Are you lost or some at Hornhead?" We usually say we're visiting family. And if they say, "Oh yeah? Who?" you give them the name of a local thiefling who confirms everything, even if he's never seen you before in his life. That's why we're all brothers and sisters. There are rules. Who does what, who gets what cut. I won't say it's a lot, but they make it worth your while. They'll even heal you if you take an arrow. But the biggest no-no is this. You don't steal from the family. If you don't contribute to the shared pot, you'll get the cold shoulder. You won't be treated like family no more. And then everyone will hear that you went to visit some relatives who have a farm someplace. My best guess? The farm is some underground well beneath Canabras, where they breed grave worms. If Sister Charisme, our boss, looked the other way more often, I'd really be able to spread my wings. Stealing from someone you call a sister? That's low. Birds fly low before a storm. I'm just surviving as best I can. Woljif fixes you with a look. Imagine the situation, Chief. You're 7 years old, you come home, and your own grandma, your family, is lying there drunk. And there's no food because she got wasted in the morning and didn't cook anything. And you know that she has a stash under the 3rd floorboard. You take this money so as you don't starve to death. And then, when she wakes up, she beats you because you shouldn't have taken it. You should have stolen some food. You're a waste of space. That's something you can never understand, Chief. You only care about moral choices. You always know what's right and what's wrong. Brother, sister, grandma, mother. In real life, they're just words. Yeah, that is a very chaotic neutral mindset. What do you think of Canabras? It used to be such a hole. Then the Crusaders and refugees came here and things started looking up. Although, it depends who you ask, I suppose. Witches better steer clear of here, because Iomede's followers are ferocious. Especially Halrun Shapok, the local inquisitor. He's a tough old goat. I didn't see it myself, but a serving girl at the tavern told me that her second cousin's son from his 3rd wife is a paladin, and he said that Halrun takes an unsheathed sword with him, even to the privy, and when he sleeps he puts it on a pillow next to him, and when he's in his cups he strokes the blade and whispers sweetly to it, "You are my one true friend. You are the only one I can rely on." Erebeth's giving us a hard time too. You as much as look at some nice little bauble, and before you can even think of taking it, before your fingers even twitch, she's coming for you, with her nostrils flaring and her fangs glinting. Scary woman. But even she's better than Sister Charisme, our boss here in Canabras. By our, I mean the Thiefling's boss. If you get caught by Erebeth, it's all out in the open. You go to prison or you end up as worm food. But if you step on Charisme's toes, poof, you're gone. Just like that. No one ever sees you again. All you'll hear is, he went to the family farm, even though he's never had a family or a farm. You have demon blood in you. Do you feel drawn to the abyss? Woljif's tail whips back and forth nervously, raising clouds of dust. Why, you an inquisitor or something? What's it to you? If I've wronged you somehow, just come out and say it. Don't ask me trick questions. I know how it happens. I used to know a fella. He was married to the sister of a guard. Some shady types got him drunk one night and started asking him suspicious questions about the gods, about the queen. So he wakes up hungover with a headache, someone's mumbling something. It smells like smoke, and his feet are kinda hot. He looks down, and there's a fire under him, and the prelate is reading out his sentence. Delightful. Your shadow looks strange. What kind of magic is that? Ladies and gentlemen, roll up, roll up. No dark magic, no fraud. A trick without any deception. Woljif snaps his fingers, and blue flame engulfs him. The shadow that was previously lying calmly at his feet grows, floating in the air behind him. It is the shadow of a huge horned, winged demon with claws. Ta-da! It doesn't do anything, it just looks scary. I remember when I was little, an old beggar showed me and my friends how to make shadow puppets. You put your fingers together in front of a light and it makes the shadow of a deer or a dog or a dove on the wall. I tried so hard. I wanted to make the best shadow. And I did. It just happened. Woljif chuckles sadly. Funnily enough, that's the last time I had any real friends. They tried to stone me later, screaming at me, calling me a demon. A tiefling is always a demon to these wimps. Even the lowest-ranking drunken gnome thinks he's better than me, just because he hasn't got horns or a tail. The poorest beggar in the filthiest gutter thinks he's better than me. Most people would never show their shadow again after that first time, but I don't care. If stones start flying again, I'll just run. I'm used to it by now. It's a harmless illusion, but you shouldn't show it to anyone. People hate what they don't understand. The blue fire disappears, and the shadow becomes normal again. Ah, you're one of those. People who are always scared of what might happen. You're not wrong, though. You better not talk to me in public at all, or you'll get tarred with the same brush. I used to have a so-called friend, a human. Well, he hummed and he hawed, and then told me to steer clear of him. His neighbors didn't like me. Then I sent the Owlbears gang to his house. You know, just one last visit to pick something up. I'd taken a shine to this nice pair of calfskin pants he had. A good lad like him wouldn't have need of them anyway. He found me later and he gave me a hiding for my troubles. But that's another story. You know, Woljif, you might want to look into the concept of, oversharing. Just saying. It is interesting, though. He's, very different from our other companions. Enough. I want to ask you about something else. Go ahead, Chief. Never mind. I guess I don't want to ask you about something else. I have to go. Woljif shrugs. Whatever. You're free to do as you please. Fascinating. Woljif is definitely a colorful character. I don't really trust him, but we will run with him for a while, at least until we have some other options to pick from. I mean, it would be nice to have a proper rogue, but we might be able to skate with Camellia. She's pretty good at trickery. This place has been sanctified. It can protect the area around it from the corruption of the Abyss. Let's see what other loot we've got hiding around here. Basic crafting ingredients. Nothing too exciting. Ah, and we've got a blacksmith stand below. That must be where Staunton's brother is. Looks like we've got a secondary access to the basement, too. Interesting. Oh, yep, there we go. Joran Vhane. Stereotypical dwarven blacksmith. A grizzled dwarf turns a blade in his calloused hands, carefully inspecting its edge. When he sees you approaching, he sets the blade aside and greets you with a nod. A new face in the city. You picked a good time to come to Canabras. As you can see, we're in sore need of warriors. Do you know everyone in Canabras by sight? Well, not everyone, but I make it my business to know the people who might need my services. A blacksmith's work isn't just at the anvil, you know. We've never had any of your kind here before. You've got an odd look about you. I can honestly say I've never seen the like of it before in my life. Are you Staunton Vhane's brother? Yep. Where he goes, I go. That's how we've always done it, even before the world wound. I forge the armor, he goes into battle and breaks it. He brings it back to me, and I repair it, and make it better than before. Everything's changed since then, of course. But that part has stayed the same. How was Staunton to blame for the fall of Dresden? I've told this story so many times already. Well, telling it one more time won't kill me. The blacksmith sighs. Dresden was built after the First Crusade, back when it seemed like victory was ours for the taking, and that the demon invasion would soon be at an end. The population of Old Sarkarus was thoroughly diminished, and many of them hoped to see their hard fighting repaid with a small plot of unclaimed land. Dresden was a fortress built on all our hopes, and on Mendev's ambitions, though you're not supposed to say that out loud. What a city it was, Creed. You can't even imagine. It was built by the finest engineers from the Five Kings Mountains. Queen Galfrey spared no expense. Dresden was meant to be the capital of the Crusade movement, a monument to its glory and a beacon of hope for all Golarion. Heroes were drawn there to seek fame and glory, and they came from all over. Taldor, Garund, Tianxia. I couldn't list them all. A relic known as the Sword of Valor was kept there, the banner that had been carried into battle by Iomedae herself, back when she was still human. That banner protected the city and kept the demons from teleporting inside its walls. As long as the banner was in its place, Dresden was invincible. Or so we thought. But then the world wound suddenly expanded. The demons launched a new onslaught, and folks started saying it was time to declare the Second Crusade. Dresden was unassailable, until one young officer was tempted by a beautiful woman. She convinced him that the banner shouldn't be hanging in the city, that its rightful place was on the battlefield. She whispered honeyed words about glory and valor, and convinced him that he could be a hero as great as Iomedae herself. And the poor fool believed her. He rounded up some of his hot-headed friends and carried the banner outside the city gates on an unauthorized foray. The demons slaughtered them within seconds. But for some reason, the courageous ringleader was spared. A whole army teleported into Dresden. It was a bloodbath. Joran solemnly shakes his head. As you can guess, that officer was called Staunton Vhane. And the woman turned out to be a demon. Not just any demon. It was Monago, that foul wretch. She's given us a lot of grief here in Canabras, too. Just don't ask me what I was doing while my brother was off having trysts with that beast. And why I didn't save him from his own stupidity. The blacksmith gestures, as if to ward off the inevitable reprobation. Who could have guessed it would end like this? I failed my brother, that's the truth. I blame myself every day, looking at his plight. So, that's the story. Why do you have your forge here, in the tavern yard? Wherever I am, that's where my forge is. A true master of any craft will always find the tools they need. I miss my old forge, of course. It's now just a pile of charred stone and metal. But I've still got my hands, and that means I can work. Do you recognize this sword? Do I recognize it? Of course I do. I made this with my own hands. There's my brand, see? The dwarf carefully takes the sword in his hands, gazing at it like a doting father. Oh, Yaniel, things have been tough without you. But at least we've still got your sword. That's something. Joran returns the sword to you. In battle, ordinary swords get blunted, they break. But sometimes, a weapon can preserve... I don't even know how to explain it. I'm no authority on these things. But sometimes, like, an echo of the deeds done with that weapon. Or more like, the reflection of the wielder's soul? I don't know. I will say one thing. Take care of that sword. Yaniel may no longer be with us. But the demons will still remember why they need to turn tail and run when they see radiance. The scabbard's all worn. We can't have a fine sword like this being carried around in this tatty thing. I'll make you a new one, if you like. If the city stands strong and we both survive, come see me again and I'll have it ready. No charge. I like Joran. It's an interesting dynamic, too. I mean, based on everything we've heard, it was entirely Staunton's fault, what happened in Dresden. But Joran is still helping him bear the brunt of the blame, essentially condemning himself to a lifetime of reparations for something that was entirely his brother's fault, out of loyalty or perhaps correctly, assuming that Staunton wouldn't be able to bear the weight of all that blame himself without self-destructing. It's respectable, but also sad. Well, let's see what he's got. Acrid Sickle. 1d3 acid damage. Attrition Dagger. Con damage. Interesting. No savings throw either. Butcher of Undead. An extra +1 against undead. Sure. Detainer. +2. With a chance to cause knockback and slow. Wow. That is actually pretty impressive. But incredibly expensive. Devastating Blow from Above. +1 long spear. That inflicts an extra d4 piercing damage when mounted. That's fun. Obviously not really good for us because we're kind of committed to the whole sword and board thing, but it is good to know that there are some mounted specific magic items. Light Crossbow of Force. 2d4 force damage to all nearby enemies on crit. Fun. Light Hammer of Righteousness. An extra +1 holy damage on hit. Somewhat unimpressive. Light Mace of Severe Strike. 1d8 extra damage on crit. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's also not that impressive. Ah, there we go. Merry-go-round. +1 heavy flail. On miss, the next attack, hit or miss, will inflict an extra 1d6 bludgeoning damage. Can't say I'm a fan of weapons that rely on you not hitting. Pain Channeler. +1 Falcata. That grants +2 on touch attacks. Huh. Not bad, but obviously intended for like a Magus. Roaring Hand Axe. Extra +1 sonic damage. Not overwhelming, but the benefit there, I suppose, is that most things don't have sonic resistance. So that could be fun if you were like dual-wielding hand axes. A nice offhand weapon. Smasher. +2 Necrotic Earthbreaker. With a chance to cause strength damage. Not bad. Kind of a shame we don't have anyone who actually uses great weapons. I guess that's it. Nothing there really jumped out at me, but it is nice to know what our options are. Let's have a look at armor. Magic shields. Armor of Vigilance. +1 leather with an extra +4 against sneak attacks. Okay. Living Ram. +1 breastplate. Extra d6 bludgeoning damage and a chance to knock enemies prone on charge. Wow. Though both of our main frontline combatants wear heavy armor, so not really a good option for them. But you know what? We could put that on Kaiser, at least in the beta. I should stress that in the final game, there will be special barding items just for pets. You won't be able to just slap a breastplate on them then. But in the meantime, I am more than happy to take advantage of that. Of course, that'll have to wait until we hit 5th level, because Kaiser is not yet proficient with medium armor. That's fine, though. That is pretty pricey. We'll need some extra time to amass some proper spending money. Rugged Helmet. Damage resistance 3 melee, but a -3 penalty to perception, which, honestly, isn't really that big a deal for Creed or Steele. Neither of them is trained in perception anyway. That's why we've got Kaiser here. Yeah, I might actually see if we can afford that before we head out to the city. I'll have to sell a few more things. Quiver of cold iron ammo? Sure. And there's all of the vendor trash we just sold. Okay, so we saw a couple of things that might be useful. Plus, who knows, maybe you guys saw something that you might like for one of your future builds. It is always nice to know what kind of gear you're going to have available during the early game segments. Oh, and I think I forgot to mention it, but the headband we found in that secret room was a headband of Charisma +2. I'll probably slap it on Steele for the short term until we can find someone who can make better use of it. And we also found a magic glaive, Marching Terror, which I think we got off the champion back in the shield maze. Okay, I think that officially clears the defender's heart. We've learned a lot about our potential companions, as well as the other people we'll be fighting alongside. I want to say we picked up at least a dozen side quests, and several optional locations on the map. Not to mention the level up and the companion. And we scouted a number of interesting potential future purchases. We're cutting it a bit short, but let's go ahead and hit the pause button here. I'm going to see if I can sell a couple more items. Maybe grab that rugged helmet or something else. Oh, and get spell set on Woljif and Camellia. I have to remember that. And we will pick up here next time. Ready to go as we head back out into Canabris and see how the city has fared in our absence. I'm assuming not very well. See you then. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website, the official YouTube and Twitch channels, the official social media feeds, or the official store pages. As always, links are in the description.